Hello, Assalamualaikum and Selamat Sejahtera to all of you. Today we are going to learn on the next chapter, that is materials. I'm going to split the presentation into two parts. As for today, we are going to learn on the first part of the material. Okay, let us go to the next slide. So at the end of this part 1, we hope that the students should be able to achieve these two learning outcomes. Number 1, the student must be able to explain briefly on materials classification and the good material control system. And number 2, the students should be able to determine the EOQ and the stock level. Okay, let us go through the overview of this cost statement. So we are now in the context of a manufacturing company. So as a manufacturer, these are usually the basic costs involved in the production process. Okay, we have direct materials, the cost of the direct material, the cost of the direct labor, the cost of the overheads, and also the adjustment for any opening and closing work in progress, and finally we will get the cost of the finished goods manufactured for the period. Okay, as you can see here is that the materials consume one of the largest part in the production cost. Therefore, we will start to learn about the detail on the materials. Okay, first of all, let us look at the classification of the materials. Basically, materials can be divided into two types. One is direct material and the other one is called as indirect materials. Then this material will be processed to become a finished good or called as a product. Whatever money that's spent on procuring or purchasing the material is called as the material cost. So basically, the material cost component will consist such as the ordering cost, and besides that, the cost of the material price itself. Okay, we might have the cost of the transportation or freight charges, the insurance in bringing the material into the factory, and then the storage cost or the shipment involved, and also some tax imposed by the government. Okay, let us look into detail of the classification of material. We start with the definition of material. In simple word, material refer to the supplies purchased from outside sources which are used to manufacture product for sale. Therefore, material is considered as one of the most important and major part in the production cost. The materials can be divided into two different classifications. Number one is direct material and another one is indirect material. So what is direct material? Direct material is actually referring to the cost of raw material or parts that go directly into producing products. Meaning to say that it is the raw material that can be clearly identified in using to produce the product. As an example, okay, for a furniture, okay, we need to have wood in order to make the furniture. So the cost of wood is actually considered as the direct material, as the raw material can be traceable directly into the product. Another example that if you want to produce a chili sauce, so you need a chili, right? Yes, you need chili as the main ingredient to produce the chili sauce. Similar to bread, if you want to produce bread, you need flour to produce the bread, because flour is one of the direct material used. Okay, another category of material is indirect materials. Indirect material actually refers to the material that are used in the production process but they are not directly traceable to the product. Okay, it is part of the production of the product but it is not considered as the basic or the main as direct material. And typically utilized in small amounts per product and acquired in mass quantity. As an example, okay, refer back to our first example just now. If you want to make a furniture, okay, we know that the direct material used will be the cost of wood. But in order to make it become more perfect, so you need other material to support the production, such as the sandpaper, the glue, the nails, varnish, shellac, and those that are associated with the production of the furniture. Okay, so as a manufacturing company, we already know that materials is the most important for them, because without material they cannot run the production. Therefore, the material must be available before the production begins. Therefore, it is very crucial to the manufacturer to ensure that they will have a good management for its material control. One of the ways to ensure that the management of material is being run successfully is by having the material control system. So what is material control system is all about? It is a system which ensures the availability of the required quantity of material of proper quality at the proper time. So there are three key areas in the material control system. Number one is to ensure that we have the required quantity of material. Number two, the required material must possess the good quality. And number three, the material will be available at the proper time. Okay, so these are the key elements in the material control system. Okay, let us look at the objectives of having the material control management. Number one is to ensure uninterrupted production. So we want to ensure that our production runs smoothly. Okay, we don't have any problem for understocking. So material control system is one of the way. Number two, to provide required quality of materials. And of course, when we have a proper control of the material management, we will, for example, select the best supplier among all. So we might have the good quality as per required. And then followed by to minimize wastage and loss of material. Yes, because material control system will help us to plan, okay, what are the required material, on which time do we need of the material. Finally is to control the investment in the stock of material. Okay, next. These are the characteristics of good material control that each manufacturing company should have. So as we know, material is considered one of the important and major part of the production process. Therefore, by having a good material management, it will help, okay, the performance of the production to run smoothly, and consequently the overall performance of the company. So one of them is the company should ensure that there will be a proper coordination among departments, such as the production, the purchasing, the inspection, and the stores department. Okay, these departments are actually essential in the production process. Production department is where the production takes place. Purchasing department is the one who is responsible to make the purchase order. The inspection department will ensure the quality of the material purchase, and the stores department is the one who responsible to store or to hold the stock before it's being transferred to the production department. And then another characteristic is that the material should be purchased only when required and appropriately authorized. Yes, so this is the responsibility of the managers in the production department, in the purchasing department, to ensure that you will only buy the material when it is needed, because this is very important to ensure that we don't have over investment on the material where the money can be used on other activities, and then we want to ensure that the material is not being how to say stored too long, until it become defect one day and cannot be used in the production. So it will lead to wastage and losses to the company. Another characteristic is that The company must ensure that the supplier chosen should be able to deliver good on time at appropriate price at the best quality. Yes, okay, the selection of supplier is very important because it will affect the production. Another characteristic is that material should be properly received and inspected. Yes, this is one of the key important to have a good material control, okay, because we want to avoid from wastage and losses. And other characteristic as follows. Okay, let us move to the next. What we are going to learn about the material control system. Okay, this is the diagram that shows the summary of flow of material cycle. Basically, it involves four main areas. So the management of the material involve number one, the purchasing. So when the production department has triggered that they need material more, what they do is that they will inform the purchasing department to purchase the raw material from the supplier. Next, okay, the supplier will send the materials to the receiving department of the manufacturing company. After that, okay, the material will be sent to the warehouse for the storekeeper to keep or to store the material in the warehouse. And finally, okay, the material will withdraw from the warehouse when it is requested by the production department. So these are the activity of the you can see in the movement of the material. So each activity needs to have its own document, okay, where to ensure the effectiveness of the internal control of the manufacturing company. So we will learn the detail of the document that attached to the activity in the next slide. Okay, so this is the source of documents that attach to each of the activity needed in the procedure of the materials management. So the documents start with the purchase requisition form, where this form will be filled up by the storekeeper, okay, based on the request by the production manager. And the objective of this form is to get an approval, okay, to purchase the material from the supplier. Okay, next, after the purchasing department has received the purchase requisition form, the purchasing department will prepare the purchase order, where the order will be sent to the supplier. So after the purchasing order has been made, then the supplier will issue the invoice which require the payment from the supplier for the purchase order made. So at the same times, okay, the goods will be transferred or will be delivered to the manufacturing company. And at this point, okay, the receiving department will issue the goods receipt note. This is to ensure that the purchasing process went smoothly, and also to verify that the quantity of the materials received is as per the invoice. Okay, next, after the receiving department has received the materials, okay, they will go for inspection. This is where the process of checking the quality, the quantity of the material to ensure that the material is in a perfect or in a good condition, and to ensure also that they will be accurate in the quantity and also the specification which has been requested before. And the final, okay, the final document that will be issued is the material requisition form. This is actually the form that to be filled up by the production department for the request of the materials to be used in the production process. So basically, these are the importance of documents that need to be attached in accordance to the activity or the flow of the material as has been explained just now. Okay, so we come to the exercise. Okay, so I hope that the student will be able to try to answer the question. I'm going to move to the next slide. Okay. Okay, after we have learned the procedure in purchasing the material and also the document that attached to it, now it's time to learn more on how do the company manage its stock. So one of the way is by having stock control. What is the objective of having this stock control? Okay, number one is the main reason is actually we want to minimize the total of inventory carrying and ordering costs while ensuring that stockouts do not occur and the surplus stock are not accumulated and carried. So in order for us to implement the stock control, okay, the company is suggested to establish their own control mechanism. Okay, so these are the example of the control mechanism that can be used by manufacturing company. Number one is by having economic order quantity, and number two by setting of the stock level. Okay, we go for the economic order quantity, or also called as EOQ. It comes from the word economic. So EOQ is actually used to determine the most optimum, the ideal one of the order size for inventory. Okay, why do we need to find the optimum size of the inventory? Why can't we just order as what we want? Okay, because we want to minimize the total order cost and carrying cost. Because if you put if you have higher order cost and carrying cost, so the money that you use is considered as over investment, where the money can be used for other important activity. So we don't want to focus more to have more on the inventory at the detriment of other activity. So we must find the most what we call ideal order, uh, not too not too low, not too high, but just a perfect, just nice one to fit the production requirement. Okay, besides an EOQ, okay, company may also set a certain setting for their stock level. Okay, why do you need certain standard of stock level? Because this is also to ensure that there will be no understocking or overstocking, which consists of various type of stock level. So we will learn more what are the type of stock level in the next slide. Okay. Okay, we start with the EOQ first. So I've mentioned before that EOQ, okay, is one of the way of the company adopt in their inventory management. In fact, it is one of the popular method. Okay, what is EOQ? The most economic quantity to order. In other words, it refers to the quantity of order which can minimize the ordering cost and also the holding cost. So another name for holding cost is storage cost, carrying cost. Okay, as we know, okay, when we make a higher, when there is a higher quantity for our order, okay, we will have a low number of order, because every time when we make order, we already order with large or high quantity. So at the same time, we can reduce the ordering cost, since the number of order is small. However, when we order for large quantity, okay, we will incur a higher holding cost, because we need to store the large quantities of the order. Therefore, how to balance within these two? We want to reduce the number of order, but at the same time, we want to reduce the holding cost, right? So what we need to do is that we are going to have the EOQ. Before we calculate for the EOQ, it's very important for us to identify the cost, the type of cost that associated with the EOQ. So what are the costs? Okay, the main one will be the ordering cost, okay, and the other one will be the holding cost, or another name, storage cost or carrying cost. Okay, in the next slide, we are going to learn the detail about these two costs. Okay, so here we are. What is ordering cost? It is the incremental cost associated with placing the purchase order and receiving the stock. Okay, so these are the costs that involve when we make the order, in other words. Okay, so this include the cost of clerical, such as the cost of finding the suitable suppliers, the cost in processing the purchasing, the good reception, and also the accounting system that we use. And then we also have a transportation charge from the supplier, so it is part of the ordering cost. A cost of receiving the order, for example, the loading and unloading, the inspecting activities and so on. And then cost of processing the invoice, and also the handling cost that associate to the ordering. So you have to identify it clearly, because later on when you want to calculate the EOQ, you have to ensure that the cost is being captured in the calculation. Okay, the next one is the cost of the inventory storage. Okay, so these are the costs that involve in carrying the stock. Okay, what are they? So these are the costs that associate in storing the inventories, such as the interest on capital invested in stock. Okay, we might have made borrowing in purchasing the stock, so the interest on the money that we invest in buying the stock is part of the holding cost. And then the storage or the warehouse charges, the material handling costs, the audit, stock taking, stock recording costs, and then the insurance and securities, cost obsolescence and deterioration of the stock, and finally the opportunity cost of investment in stock. Okay, next. So this is the formula of the EOQ. So these are the elements that we need to know. Okay, D represent the total demand for material during a given period or the annual quantity used. O represent the cost of placing or receiving the order, in other words, ordering cost. And C is the carrying or the storage cost. Is the annual cost of carrying 1 unit of material. In other words, the holding cost. So EOQ model is based on the following assumption. We also, in calculating the EOQ, we assume that the demand is constant, the carrying and ordering costs are constant, the unit price is also constant, and there will be a quick delivery. Okay, so this is the illustration on how to calculate the optimum quantity of order. Okay, so this is our situation. Walagonia Sdn Bhd produce a product called Miracle. So in order to produce the Miracle, we need a raw material called M1. So this material is being used evenly throughout the year to produce Miracle. The forecasted demand of M1 is 500 liters per month. Okay, this is the consumption of the material per month. Okay, the material M1 is obtained at a fixed price of 5 ringgit per liter. Okay, and then the purchasing department estimates the holding cost per liter of inventory at 20% of inventory value. So this is the cost associated in carrying the inventory. The shipping and delivery cost for each order is 70 ringgit. Okay, so in order to get to order the material, we need to pay for the shipping and delivery cost. Other related costs includes receiving and inspection charges of 20 ringgit per order. So once you make the order and the goods has been sent, so you will need another activities, that is receiving and inspection, which costs you 20 ringgit per order. So you are required to calculate the EOQ showing clearly the annual usage of M1 in liters, the ordering cost and the holding cost per liter of the material. So what you need to do is that you need to calculate for the EOQ. But before you can calculate the EOQ, you must show clearly, okay, the annual usage of M1 followed by the ordering cost and the holding cost. Now, why do you need these three information? Because these three information later on will be used in the EOQ formula to find the optimum quantity of order. So we start with the annual usage. The keyword here is annual usage, meaning you need to know the consumption of this raw material per year. So as mentioned in the information, okay, M1 is forecasted to be used by 500 liters per month. Therefore, if we want to calculate the annual usage per year, you need to times with 12 months. Therefore, the annual demand of M1 is 6,000 liters per annum. Okay, you need 6,000 liters of M1 for the year. Okay, so next we identify the ordering cost. Remember, what is ordering cost? Ordering costs are costs that incurred in making the order of the material. Okay, so as you can see from the situation, okay, you are going to purchase it. When you purchase the material, then you will incur for shipping and delivery costs. Okay, this is shipping and delivery costs. So this is one of the costs incurred in making the order. And then when the goods received to the receiving department, you will need to do some inspection. Okay, so the cost that associated with the activity is 20 ringgit per order. So in other words, this is also part of the ordering cost in order for you to have that material. Therefore, ordering cost will consist of shipping and delivery cost for each order, 70 ringgit, and also the receiving and inspection charge of 20 ringgit. So in total, the ordering cost is 90 ringgit. Next, we need to find the holding cost. Remember, holding cost is the cost of storing the inventories. After you have received, you have you have confirmed that the good have received, then the situation says that the purchasing department estimate the holding cost per liter of inventory is at 20% of the inventory value. So you need to find how much the inventory value here. So the inventory value is expressed in ringgit. So you have to find the value in ringgit. So it is mentioned here that, okay, the price per liter is 5 ringgit. Therefore, the holding cost per liter will be 20% times 5 ringgit. The answer is 1 ringgit, meaning to say that the cost of storing the material is 1 ringgit per liter. Okay, now after having all the important information, you can calculate the EOQ for M1. So at the end, we can find out that the optimum number of quantity to be ordered is 1039 liters. So at this order, the company actually can minimize its holding cost and its ordering cost at the same time. So this will ensure that the company will not make over investment on the stock. Because when you make more investment, over investment, then you will have a wastage on other part. You cannot invest the money on other important activity. So it is considered as your opportunity cost later on. Okay, so we have done with the EOQ. Okay, next we are going to move on the next slide. Okay, this is the exercise for the EOQ. So I hope that all of you can try to answer the question based on the scenario given. Okay, next we are going to learn about the stock level. Okay, this is one of the way that the company can control its stock. Stock level is a system to determine the reorder level and the maximum or the minimum quantity to store. So there are 4 stock level here. Okay, reorder stock level, minimum stock level, maximum stock level, and plus we also might have average stock level. Okay, why do we need to have to set the stock level? The objective is to avoid problem of overstocking and understocking. Okay, because when you have overstocking, then there will be a wastage if the material become defect in future. While if you have understocking, then you might have a risk that the production cannot be run. So we don't want either of the problem. Therefore, by setting the stock level, we will hope that the production can be run smoothly, and eventually it will give a good performance to the company. So as I mentioned you just now, overstocking results in cash flow being unnecessarily tied up and make the stock become obsolete if it moves too slow, while understocking can result in lost sales and dissatisfied customer. Okay, the first stock level is reorder level. So what is reorder level? It is a specific level at which the stock needs to be replenished. Replenished meaning that you need to replace. It indicates when to place an order so to avoid the run out of stock. So to ensure that we don't have understocking, we must set the reorder level. So to calculate the reorder level, okay, we need to follow the following parameters. Meaning to say that we need to have this kind of information. Number one is the lead time or reorder time. Lead time refer to the time taken or the length of time for vendor to fulfill the order. Meaning it starts from the time when the purchase order is made, between the purchase order is made, and also the time when the material is received. So this is considered a lead time. And then we also need to know the maximum consumption of that materials. Okay, so the reorder level will have a formula. So this is the formula of the reorder level. To find the reorder level, we must know the maximum consumption of the material and times with the maximum reorder period or lead time. Okay, so the reorder period can be expressed in days, in weeks, in month. Okay, the maximum consumption is based on the unit of the consumption unit of the material. Okay, so next is the minimum stock level. Okay, besides then having reorder level, we must also set another stock level called minimum stock level. This represents the lowest quantity which must be always maintained in hand. Otherwise, the work will stop due to shortage of material. In other words, we must have a safety stock. We must have a level we call as safety stock. Okay, so this is the minimum number of quantity that must have, okay, in order to ensure that the production can run well. What about what will happen if the quantity is the material is below than the minimum stock level? Okay, then it will affect on our production, of course. We might have a what we call we might have to stop the production because of the shortage of the materials. So as an indicator, when your stock level reach to minimum stock level, you must be prepared to make the purchase order, because this is the last threshold for you to last opportunity for you to have, or else, as I mentioned, then you have to stop the production. So what is the formula for minimum stock level? To find the minimum stock level, you need to know the reorder level first. Okay, the reorder level we minus, okay, the sum of average consumption times with the average reorder period. So when we say average, meaning you need to find the maximum consumption and the minimum consumption divided by 2. Okay, and similar to average reorder period, we have to find the maximum reorder period and the minimum reorder period and divide by 2, then only you can get the average reorder period. Okay, the next level is the maximum stock level, or known as MAL. This is the maximum quantity of material that should company ever have, meaning the highest number of quantity of material. If the quantity exceed the maximum level, what will happen? Then it will be termed as overstocking. So we don't want to have overstocking, because as I mentioned to you, the money is being tied up to stock and you cannot go for other activities. Overstocking should be avoided, as it result in high material cost and lead to the requirement of more space. So besides that, okay, we also will incur more cost, because you have to pay the cost for storing, for handling the material, and more charges of losses from obsolescence. And at the end, if the material become defect, then it cannot be used on the production, so you will have more and more loss. Okay, the formula is, okay, you need to find the reorder level again. You will minus the minimum consumption times with the minimum reorder period, okay, and times with the EOQ. Okay. Next is the average stock level. So average stock level will show the average stock level, meaning the level between the maximum and the minimum stock level held by the firm. The formula is very simple and easy. The minimum stock level plus the maximum stock level divided by 2. So you have to find the minimum and the maximum stock level first in order for you to find the average stock level. Okay, let us look at this illustration to understand better. Okay, so this is our scenario. Fantastic is a product produced by Bougainvillea Sdn Bhd. It is based in Perak. Fantastic is made from the raw material F1, which is utilized equally throughout the year. So this is actually represent the consumption. Currently, the raw material is purchased from a supplier in Malacca. The following contains information about F1. So this is the consumption rate. So these are the range of the consumption per day. You will use from 60 up to 130 units. So this is the minimum consumption and 130 is the maximum consumption per day. The lead time, remember, as I told you, lead time referring to the length of time between the purchase made and the order received. So it takes about 20 to 26 days for the goods to be received. Okay, meaning that in minimum you can receive within 20 days and the maximum will be 26 days from the purchase order made. And the economic order quantity, okay, the optimum quantity to order is 4,000. So you are required to determine the reorder level. Okay, reorder level represent the quantity on which the order have been need to be made to replace the stock. Minimum stock level, maximum stock level, and the average stock level. So we will start doing the ROL first, because the reorder level will be used in the calculation for minimum and maximum. Okay, and then after we have the minimum and maximum, then only we can find the average stock level. Okay, so we start with the reorder level. Remember, what is the formula? The maximum consumption times with the maximum reorder period. So based on the information here, we can see that the consumption rate is 60 to 130. So the maximum will be 130. The maximum reorder period is actually referring to the lead time. So 20 to 26. So the answer is 26. So 130 units times with 26. So the reorder level will be 3,380. Meaning that when the storekeeper identify that the material has reached to this unit, so it is time for the company to make the order from the supplier. So this level indicate the reorder level for the company. Okay, next is the minimum stock level. So we need to have the reorder level minus the total of these two. So we have to find the average consumption. 60 plus 130 divide by 2, because we need to find the average, right? We have 2 items here, so divide by 2. Okay, average reorder period similar, 20 plus 26 divide by 2. So the sum, the total of this will be minus from the reorder level. So the minimum stock level will be 1195. This is the level of our safety stock. We must ensure that the stock level is not go below than this, or else you might be having the understock situation. So understock will risk your production. Your production need to be stopped because you have a shortage of material. So you must ensure that you must make the order uh, before it fall down. Okay, the maximum stock level that you can have for the certain process. Okay, so ROL minus this 2 plus the EOQ. So the answer is 6,180. So this is the maximum stock level. So you must ensure that your stock will not go beyond it, because if you go beyond the level, then you will have an overstocking. Overstocking is not good, as it will lead to higher cost, and also the risk of wastage, because the stock might be defect in the future. Okay, to have the average stock level, you just have to find the minimum and the maximum. You add up and divide by 2. So this is the level between the minimum and the maximum stock level, called as average stock level. Okay, so you can continue on. Okay, before we go into next question, okay, let us refer to this summary of what we have calculated just now. So based on the diagram, okay, we can see that we need to calculate just now for stock level. Okay, we have maximum, reorder, minimum, and also the average stock level. Okay, based on the diagram, you can see that on the vertical axis here is the number of stock level, and then followed by the horizontal axis here is the time taken, or the lead time for the goods to be received. Okay, so the maximum level is 6,180. This level show the maximum number of material that the company should store in their warehouse. Okay, it is also an indicator for the company to ensure that their material should not go beyond the maximum level, because if the company having more than what it has been set up, then they will have a situation of overstocking. Overstocking is not favorable, because it will lead to higher costs, and then it will lead to more wastage, as the material might defect because not being used. And then when the production run, okay, then the number of material will fall, and when it fall to this level 3,380, the management should ready to make the new purchase order from the supplier, because this is the reorder level which has been set up by the company. The reason why we need to make the reorder, because we want to ensure that the production can be run smoothly. We don't want to have any interruption during the process. Okay, so at the end, you must ensure that you must hold, okay, this quantity of material in your hand, because if the material fall below than the minimum stock level, then the company will have a risk of understocking, which might lead to the delay in the production. So the minimum stock level is very important, because it serves as a safety measure for the company to ensure that their production can be run smoothly. Okay, so the another name for this is the safety stock or buffer stock. Alright, so that's all about the stock level. Okay, basically there are 4: minimum, maximum, reorder, and the average. While the average stock level is actually the level between the maximum and the minimum, meaning 6,180 plus 1,195 and divide by 2, so that will represent the average stock level. It doesn't indicate anything, it's just additional information for you to know. So this is the exercise that you can try. So as similar to this previous question, you are required to find the reorder stock level, minimum level, maximum level, and also the average stock level. And please show detail of your working. Okay, that's all for part 1. Okay, we will see you in part 2 later on.